Welcome, friends. James Corbett here from CorbettReport.com, coming to you, as always, from the land of the rising sun here on the 16th of February, 2015. And I have a question for you to start today's conversation. The question being, are you one of the 31% of Americans who have looked for a job in the past 4 weeks, but are still jobless after 6 months or more? Or are you one of those quote-unquote lucky individuals who actually does have a job, but like 75% of Americans and similar numbers around the world find that job unfulfilling? Or are you just starting off in life and wondering how you're going to land that dream job without getting tens of thousands of dollars into debt to get your college degree? Well, if any of these considerations apply to you, or others, I should say, you might be interested in Reaching the Finish Line, a new book by career consultant Callan Diggs that is available for purchase through reachingthefinishline.com. Currently as an ebook, and as I understand, it is forthcoming as a paperback, and we are lucky to be joined on the line today by Callan Diggs, the author of that book at reachingthefinishline.com. Callan, thank you for joining us on the program today.
James, thank you for having me.
Well, it is good to have you here to talk about a topic that we have talked about several times in the past here at the Corbett Report, namely the college trap that has been sprung on a generation now of Americans who have been convinced that the only way that they can possibly succeed in life is to attain that college degree, and the only way they can attain that college degree is to go tens of thousands of dollars into debt. We've reached a situation where now student loan debt is at epidemic levels and has surpassed even credit card debt in terms of the overall consumer debt levels in the United States. And this is specific to America, but I think that broadly speaking, this idea that we need a college degree, speaking as a Canadian, I can tell you that's very much implanted in the Canadian culture as well, and many places around the world. So I think this Reaching the Finish Line is a very interesting and very detailed, very specific idea of how people can go about getting a dream job or landing a career at any rate without a high school diploma or without a college degree, or at least how you can get a college degree cheaper and easier. So some very practical information in this book. But before we get into that specific information, Callan, perhaps you can just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do and how you came to write this book.
Great. So I've been, since the Great Recession, I helped over 2,000 people reach the finish line in their careers. So some people without high school diplomas, people without college degrees, even people who have college degrees, but they want to change their careers, but they want to go back to school to do it. So I've also helped those people as well to be able to change their careers successfully without going back to school. So hopefully that tidbit sums me up.
Absolutely. Well, it is, as I say, a very practical guide that you've written here with a lot of specific information that will be helpful, certainly to people specifically in the United States, but I think there's information here that's applicable in a lot of different Western countries. So let's talk about some of that information, and specifically talking about what I addressed there at the beginning, the idea of the college trap, this idea that has been inculcated in so many of us that we can't possibly land a good job or even a career without that piece of paper from a college institution telling us that we are worthy of it. And it's something that I myself fell into, and I went not only through my bachelor's degree, but got my master's degree as well in Anglo-Irish literature. And it's completely useless to me in my current line of work and doesn't help me at all on a daily basis. So, I mean, from that perspective, I suppose it was a monumental waste of time and money, but I suppose there were some graces to that piece of paper, namely the social aspects of attending university, and the fact that I just didn't know at the time what I wanted to do, so it was a way of kind of stalling for me. But I'm sure you've dealt with a lot of people in similar situations who end up in jobs completely different than what they actually trained for. Can you speak to this idea that we have been taught for so long that college degrees are the be-all and end-all of what it takes to land that job?
Absolutely. Government paints the perception that we need a college degree. Our parents paint the perception that we need a college degree. We see our peers who are very successful, and they have college degrees, so they think, well, this is where I need to be successful. And the reality is college can be helpful if you're doing something that's specialized. So if you're in a specialized profession, if you're doing engineering, or if you're looking to careers in healthcare or science, then it could be very valuable to have a college degree. But I want to say more than half of college degrees. I don't want to say that I don't want to say that education is useless, but the investment that they have to make to get the education looking for a job is totally useless, and it's totally ridiculous. A lot of these majors that students are interested in, they can sort forms of alternative education, and where it's very low cost, and even in a lot of instances, it's also free. Yale, MIT, they have these types of programs called open courseware, where there's a specific a subject they're interested in, they can study for free. They don't have to pay anything. All they have to do is go online and create an account, and basically they have the same access to education as a person that's seeking a degree. So I really think that it's important for the student to, or the person for that matter, to analyze what they really want to study and to see if college is worth it. Again, if it's specialized, absolutely. But if it's not specialized, if they want to give it a second thought.
You make a couple of very important distinctions there that I want to echo. Firstly, that I'm not saying that education is a bad thing in and of itself. I mean, obviously, the things that I learned during my university time were interesting to me, and I got something out of them personally. But in terms of actually applying that in the real world is a different step. And also, absolutely right. If you are in a specialist trade that requires specialist training and education, of course, that type of higher learning can be, not only useful, but usually mandatory in some sense or other. And in fact, yes, everyone that I knew during my university time who was studying a specialist course, nursing or biology or computer science, is currently employed in that. Whereas with English majors, they're all over the board working in all sorts of different positions at this point. So it certainly is something that can be quite useful if you know exactly what it is you're doing there. But as you say, there are new things that are coming along, like open courseware and things of that nature, free online learning, that is completely changing the landscape of what education even means in our current day and age, to the point where I think that the old paradigm is based very much on this idea you're going to train in one thing and you're going to do that one thing for the rest of your life. But as I'm sure you can attest to, that is not the way most people experience their careers in this day and age, with most people changing jobs and even changing industries and professions several times throughout their life. How does that change our perception of what education is, or how it can work for us in terms of achieving our goals?
Absolutely. So I think that's very important. So again, really the society that we live in, a lot of westernized cultures, it's been indoctrinated to think that we need to go to college or to be successful. And if we look even deeper, with a lot of these majors with college degrees, it's almost that college degree is the new high school diploma. Even sometimes it's mandatory that you go to college, because most employers are not going to hire you unless you have a college degree. But then we see from there that even the positions that require a college degree, it still doesn't pay enough to justify the cost of education. So there's a lot, as we talked about before about open courseware, there's a lot of alternatives. A person doesn't have to get in tens of thousands of dollars of debt. It's sad to say, but a lot of people are going to end up dying with their student loan debt because it's atrocious. It's so much. If a person gets a bachelor's degree, let's say they're not necessarily picky about what they're studying. Let's just say that they're not sure, but they want to start going to college, maybe start studying some general education courses. Well, there's ways in where a person can get a bachelor's degree in 1 year. And that's unheard of because, again, indoctrination, governments, a lot of these higher education institutions tell us that, well, it takes 4 years to get a bachelor's degree. You got to get your 120 credits, and it's going to take you 4 years to do it. Well, there's something that's called CLEP courses, or DSST courses. Basically, it's credit by examination, and where you can test out of these subjects. Now, the majors are more constricted, so they're not as vast as if you would go to a college to try to seek a major to apply for. But again, if a person, let's say, like, for example, some examples are liberal arts, criminal justice, computer science, like those type of more common majors. If a person kind of has interest in those type of majors, they can actually get their bachelor's degree in 1 year as opposed to doing 4 years. And they won't end up paying less than $10,000 rather paying $40,000, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000. So